Hello students, title of today's lecture is Electron Beam Induced Current. Electron beam induced current is a electron beam technique for the characterization of the semiconductor materials. You know that when an electron beam interacts with the semiconductor material, there are many kind of possibilities: reflection of electrons, transmission or emission of electrons or X-rays. There is one very interesting possibility that what happens when this electron is absorbed into the semiconductor. So if this kind of absorption of incoming electron takes place, that possibility give rise to one characterization tool which is known as electron beam induced current. So because of this incoming electron beam, a current is introduced into the semiconductor material, and the corresponding technique is known as electron beam induced current. So this electron beam induced current in the semiconductor can be used to get some information about the semiconductor, like how many carriers are present into the semiconductor, what is the recombination uh, centers, and what is the generation rate of carriers, and if there is any defect present into the material, that can also be detected using this electron beam induced current. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss this technique in more detail. Now in this technique the experimental setup is something like this. So this is semiconductor material and it has a space charge region here on the top, and a incoming electron beam falls on this structure, and because of this incoming electron beam, electron hole pairs are generated here in this portion, and this beam is scanned from one end to the other end, and the current which is passing through this conductor or passing through this structure, that is measured with the help of some measuring equipment here, and for this one contact is taken from the top side and other contact is taken from the bottom side. So actually this method relies on collection of minority carriers generated by a scanned electron beam. So you see here, this is a scanned electron beam, this beam is shown here and it scans from this direction to this direction, and when this scanning electron beam is interacting with the material here, it is producing minority carriers into the semiconductor, and these minority carriers are near this junction. So this is junction here, this portion I told you, this is a space charge region, right, and this is junction here. So near the junction minority carriers are produced because of this electron beam, and the collection of these minority carriers will constitute a current which flows from top electrode to bottom electrode, and the current which is flowing between top electron and this bottom electrode. So this current depends on many parameters. It depends on the carriers which are present here and the number of carriers which are collected by this space charge region. So this current is also affected by the presence of defects, impurities or recombination centers. So if these three like defects are present here in the vicinity of this portion, and if impurities are present here, and if there are some recombination center, all these three will affect the concentration of free carriers in this portion, and that way the current which is collected at this junction, that current will also be affected. So whatever is the current which is flowing here, that is measure of defects, impurities and recombination center. So that way we can say that this EBIC doesn't identify impurities. Like in case of Auger electron spectroscopy, we have seen that we can use that technique to identify the impurities present into the semiconductor. But in case of EBIC, it's not that we are identifying the impurities which are present here. We are actually measuring the electrically active impurities. Remember, electrically active impurities, these impurities are being measured using this technique. Active impurities means the impurities which are playing some role in the conduction mechanism, or you can say the playing some role in the current which is flowing between the two electrodes. Now before going further, we have to understand this carrier generation theory in the electron beam induced current mechanism, because this EBIC technique that depends on uh, the carriers which are generated because of falling electron beam. So we have to understand the mechanism of generation of carriers and how that mechanism affects the current. So for this, let us see first the number of electron hole pairs which are generated in response to E beam. So when a electron beam is falling on a semiconductor, in response to that electron beam, electron hole pairs will generate into the semiconductor, and the number of those electron hole pairs is given by this equation. You can see here there are many parameters. E is the energy of the incoming electron beam, and this EHP is the average energy necessary to create one electron hole pair. So that we have to identify first, that what is the minimum energy of the incoming electrons which is required for the generation of electron hole pairs, and E is the actual energy of the incoming electron pair. Now this EBS is the mean energy of backscattered electrons. So that is also very important parameter, because the backscattered electrons, they will be scattered back without creating any electron hole pair. So that way the backscattered electron energy is not contributing to this electron hole pair generation. So always it is better if this EBS is negligible, right? And this alpha is backscattering coefficient. So this backscattering coefficient should also be low if we want better efficiency of electron hole pair generation. So you can see here, so all this part, this component is subtracted from 1, right? So it's better that this alpha is as small as possible, and ideally it should be 0. In that case this part will become 0, and the number of electron hole pair generated into the semiconductor will be highest. But if it is non-zero, then this part will be subtracted from 1. So this part will be multiplied by a fractional number. So that way the number of electron hole pairs which are produced, that will reduce. Now this alpha ideally should be 0, the backscattered coefficient, but practically, for example, if we talk the case of silicon, the value of alpha is 0.1, and this is the case when the range of energy of the incoming electron is 2 to 60 kilo electron volts. So for this range of energy of the electron beam, in case of silicon, alpha is 0.1. So definitely some backscattered electrons are there which are not contributing to the generation of electron hole pair, and so this factor is non-zero in that case. Now once the electron hole pairs have generated into semiconductor, now the next thing which we have to understand is the rate of generation of electron hole pair, means how quickly EHPs, electron hole pairs, are generating into the material. So the generation of rate of electron hole pair is given by this equation, that is generation of you can say the number of electron hole pairs per unit time produced into the semiconductor in response to the incoming beam. This was just a number for a given energy of electron beam. This is rate of generation of electron hole pair. You can see here the rate of generation of electron hole pair depends directly on IB, that is the beam current. It depends on the NEHP, number of electron hole pair which are produced into the semiconductor, and all this part is divided by Q, is is constant, and this volume VOL, volume, this volume is the volume in which electron hole pairs are generated. So that way if we know how many electron hole pairs are generated for a given energy of electron beam, we can find out what is the rate of generation of electron hole pair. And this rate of generation of electron hole pair is very important information, because it gives us the concentration of carriers into the material. So the minority electron density, for example, in case of a p substrate, so electrons are minority in case of p substrate. So the concentration of a minority electron, that will be given something by this equation, where this G is rate of generation of carriers and this tau is recombination rate. So the carrier concentration, for example, in this particular case, the electron concentration depends on their recombination rate, and they also depends on their generation rate. Both these parameters will affect the carrier concentration, and you know the carrier concentration decides the current into the semiconductor. So you can say that when electron beam is falling on the semiconductor, some electron hole pairs are generated. So it means there is a the free carrier concentration is present there, and that free carrier concentration we are collecting with the help of space charge region in the vicinity of that particular portion where this interaction is taking place. But free carrier depends on the generation rate, and they also depends on the recombination rate, right. So that way we can say that the carrier density in the semiconductor is dependent on minority carrier lifetime. So the tau is actually, we can say, is a lifetime, which in turn depends on the defect distribution of the sample. So how many defects are present into the sample? Those defects will decide the carrier lifetime. If more number of defects are present there, the possibility of recombination of the carriers is more, or you can say that the carrier lifetime is less in that case, and that way the carrier density will be affected, and so current will also be affected. So we can conclude it like this, that the current which is produced into the semiconductor material in response to the incoming electron beam, that depends on the lifetime of the carriers, that also depends on the defect distribution into the sample. So when we are measuring current in this kind of sample, we are actually having a tool which can give us some information about the minority carrier lifetime into the semiconductor, as well as the distribution of defects into the semiconductor, right. Now let us understand this process in more detail. So actually you have seen that the minority carriers are generated by a scanned electron beam. So this you can see here, the scanning direction is shown here. So if this is x side and this is y, then this beam is moving from x to y like this, right. Now because of this scanning of electron beam, electron hole pairs are generated here, but these electron hole pairs are of no use. They will not give us any information until or unless we are able to collect them, and for collecting them we need an electric field, and for having an electric field in that particular portion where this generation is taking place, we need to have a junction, because that electric field will be there in a space charge region, and if we have a junction, and inside the junction we have space charge region. So you can see here this slashed lines, that is a junction, and it has a space charge region, and it means there is a strong electric field present here in this portion. So there is a strong electric field here in this portion, right. So this kind of junction can be produced by creating a PN junction, by creating a Schottky barrier, and you know in case of MOSFET devices also there is a depletion region, and that way we get a space charge region or a strong electric field there, and MOS capacitor can also be used there, electrolyte semiconductor junction can also be used there. So all these structures can provide us a junction where there is a strong electric field, and because of that strong electric field we can collect the carriers which are produced in response to the incoming electron beam. So all these carriers which are collected in the junction, they are measured as a current, and I think by now it is clear to you, that is why this technique is known as electron beam induced current, because in electron beam which is falling here, that is producing minority carriers, or you can say electron hole pair here, and these electron hole pairs, they will be collected by a strong electric field here, and that way we get some current in the measuring device outside. So whatever current we are getting in this measuring device, that current is because of this electron beam and electron hole pair generated there, and the presence of junction. All these three things are necessary to detect a current here. Now spatial distribution of defects can also be detected very easily. For example, if you see this figure here, so the minority carriers, or you can say electron hole pairs, are present here in this portion. Now if there is a defect which is present here, you can see this is a defect here. So if the carriers are present near this defect, so this defect will affect the number of free carriers which are present here, because whatever electron hole pairs are generated here, this kind of defect will promote the recombination of these carriers. So these carriers will recombine before being collected by the strong electric field here. So that way the current which is present in this portion where this defect is there, the current will reduce. So if there is no defect present in that portion, so current will remain as a normal current, but if the defect is present there, then the current will reduce. And how much reduction is there in the current, that will depend on the type of defect, and you can say it also depends on the defect density. So if we want to find out the spatial distribution of defects, recombination centers, etc., so the defects can also act as a recombination center. So we can call them recombination center also. So if we want to find out the spatial distribution of defects and recombination center, spatial distribution means their location as a function of x and y, right? In that case, what we have to do, we have to move the beam, electron beam, in x and y direction. So what happens? So first this beam moves from this portion to this portion, and at every location it measures how much is the current there. If there is any fluctuation in the current, it means some defect or recombination center is present there, right? So that way the spatial distribution can be obtained. Now sometime you know that we are interested to find out the depth profiling also, means the location of defect on the xy plane we can find out using this scanning of electron beam in xy direction, but sometime we are interested to find out its depth also. For that, what we have to do, we have to change the z direction, and that change is produced by changing the beam energy, right? So suppose we have a low beam energy of electron beam, that low beam will create some electron hole pair generation here near the surface. If we increase the energy of the beam, then we can go to the deeper part, and if we further increase that energy of the beam, we can go in the much deeper part of the semiconductor material. But remember, even by increasing the energy, we are going to the deeper part of the semiconductor, but the electron hole pairs which are generated in that deeper part, they are of no use until or unless we are able to collect it. So in order to collect it, we have to bring this junction near this portion where the electron beam is interacting with the material, right? So not only we have to increase the energy for getting the information from the deeper part, but we also have to create junction near that portion, so that the electric field which is present into the junction, that can be used to collect those electron hole pairs which have been generated, right? And only then they will be able to contribute to the current. Now let's see this concept in more detail. Now this thing you already know now, that incident electron beam creates electron hole pairs at a distance d from the edge of this is space charge region SCR. So SCR, this is SCR, right? So the electron beam will produce electron hole pairs at a distance d from the edge of SCR. This d distance have to be chosen in such a way that the electron hole pairs which are generated here, they are able to travel this distance d in order to reach to this space charge region. Now some of these minority carriers, they diffuse to the junction to be collected. So if that junction as is far away from this portion where the electron beam is interacting with the material and where electron hole pairs have generated, then since the distance of that portion is higher as from the edge of the space charge region, so we will not be able to collect those carriers, or you can say the minority carriers will not be able to travel that much distance in order to reach to the space charge region. So that thing we have to ensure that how close we have to be to the edge of the space charge region, so that whatever carriers are generated, we are able to collect them also. Now you see here this one case. Now suppose the energy of this electron beam is low beam energy. Now it means the electron hole pairs are generated near the top surface. So maybe the electron hole pairs are generated somewhere here. So I hope that you are able to see this green line. So electron hole pairs are generated here in this portion, Why? Because the energy of the incoming beam was low, right? In that case, what happened? Most of the minority carriers are collected by space charge region, right? All these carriers are present within this space charge region. So the current doesn't vary with distance. So doesn't matter the electron beam is here or here or here. So you move this electron beam, you scan it along this green line. So you will see that the current is not changing within the space charge region. You can see here this information is plotted here. So this portion is free of defects and the current is almost uniform. So this is distance along sample. So means from this edge to this edge, when we are moving, the current is plotted here as a function of distance, and all this distance is measured from this edge. Suppose this is O, and this is your O, right? And this is suppose A. This edge is A, right? So this is O to A. So when the electron beam is moving from O to A, there is no change in the current. Why? Because the beam energy was low, and so electron hole pairs were generated only near the surface. And in this portion there is no defect, so the current is almost uniform. But remember, a defect is present here. This is a defect here. It is shown here as a defect. Now suppose you have a electron beam with high energy, right? So the beam penetration into the semiconductor will be higher in this case, and now it is should be sufficient enough that for some electron hole pair to recombine at defect. So if the energy is higher and now the electron beam is able to reach to this second line, right? This second line. So in this case, you see, when this beam is here in this portion, so electron hole pairs will generate, and these electron hole pairs are still within the safe range, so that they can travel to this space charge region, so that they can be collected. But once this beam reach here, the defect is present here, and since this defect is present here, some of the carriers will interact with this defect, and they will recombine, and they will not be able to reach to this space charge region, and so the collection of carriers in the space charge region is less, so there is less current here. So you can see here. Now suppose I mention this location of this defect as C, right? So at 0 it is almost same current, and up to this point it is same current. If we see here at this point, then this is A portion, right? This is 0 or O, you can say the starting point and end point. But here, when this electron beam reach here at C, this is your C here, right? So because of the presence of this defect here, the recombination of carriers may take place, and all carriers will not be able to reach to this space charge region, so there will be reduction into the current. So that reduction is current is there, that reduction is because of defect which is present here. So now I hope that you understand this entire phenomena, that when this electron beam scans this portion here, and if electron hole pairs are generated, and if they are collected by the space charge region, they constitute some current, but the current will get reduced if there is a defect present into that portion, right? So that way we can locate the position of defect into the semiconductor material. Now suppose someone wants to scan this sample again, but with higher depth, means we want to do profiling at this particular depth. So what we have to do? We can further increase the energy of this electron beam, so that this electron beam reach here. But remember, if the electron beam reach here, we can generate electron hole pairs in this portion, but whatever electron hole pairs are generated, they will not be collected, because our junction edge is far away from here. So now if we bring this junction edge here, so all the free carriers will be collected here, and so there is no defect in this line. So the current will remain same like this particular case, right? And we can conclude that there is no defect present at this particular depth. So that way, by moving the electron beam in xy direction, we can locate the location of defect in xy plane by increasing the energy we can repeat this kind of scanning at different depths within the semiconductor, and that way we can find out the location of any defect if present into material in xy plane as well as in vertical plane or as a function of depth. Now, what are applications of electron beam induced current technique? Now, typical applications, I think most of things we already have covered. So, we are just summarizing that what kind of information we can get from this technique. So, one particular information we can get is the minority carrier diffusion length and lifetime, right. So, I told you that the current which flows there, that depends on the carrier lifetime, because the carrier concentration in the semiconductor is decided by the lifetime of the carrier. And so, if there is any change in the lifetime, that can be detected by change in the current in that particular location. Now, recombination site. So, I told you this kind of defect which is present here, that is a type of recombination center. So, recombination site means if there is any dislocation, precipitates which are present there, and even if there are some grain boundaries, all these act as recombination sites. So, if they are present there, they will promote the recombination of carriers in that portion, and since recombination rate will increase there because of presence of these kind of recombination sites, the current which we are detecting here with the help of this outside equipment or outside tool, that current will reduce. So, that kind of tip into current is measure of the recombination sites present into the semiconductor material. Doping density can also be detected, because you know the current depends on the doping density. So, that way doping density information can also be collected using this technique. Density inhomogeneities can also be detected, because if density is inhomogeneous, if we move in xy plane, so definitely the electron hole pairs which are generated there because of interaction with electron beam, their number will fluctuate, and so the current will also fluctuate. So, whatever fluctuation is there in the current, that is measure of density inhomogeneities. Junction location can also be detected using this kind of technique. So, we just have to change the energy of the electron beam. So, we will scan this sample with the help of this electron beam, and we keep on changing the energy. So, we will be able to change the depth also. So, you know that if that interaction is near the edge of the semiconductor, only then the current will flow into the measuring equipment. So, that way we will find out for which particular energy we are able to detect the current, and that information will give us some idea about the depth of the junction. Now, this EBIC, electron beam induced current, that technique can also be used to detect oxide defects. That is also possible. So, where an oxidized wafer is provided with a conducting gate. You know, in case of MOS structures, so we have a semiconductor here. On the top of this semiconductor, we have oxide, right? So, we have oxide like this, and on the top of this, we have a metal. So, this is a type of MOS capacitor, right, and there is an electric field here in this portion because this is a capacitor. So, this is your gate and this is your bottom substrate electrode. Now, if there is any defect present into this oxide layer, so that defect will act as a recombination center, and because of that defect current will change. So, that way that variation in the current as a function of position can be recorded, and we can find out the presence of defects in case of oxides also, right. So, I hope that now this topic is clear to you. You know the working principle of electron beam induced current technique. You know what kind of information we can get from it, and you also know that what is basically the working principle behind it. So, how electron hole pairs are generated, and their collection at the edge of the space charge region or at the edge of junction is necessary in order to detect the presence of any recombination site, any defect, or junction or junction location or density inhomogeneities into the semiconductor. If you have any doubt, any question, you can discuss with me during the interaction sessions. So thank you for